So you know that classic saying, never judge a book by its cover? I actually quite agree with that. There have been plenty of films that already came out this year that I thought would not be very good at all, but I actually ended up enjoying. But there are just some films out there that you know are going to be bad without ever having to watch them, like anything to do with Adam Sandler or anything that has video games in them, and especially anything that has Adam Sandler and video games in it. So here are just 5 upcoming films that I predict will be awful. I picked 5 that all have trailers and they're coming out fairly soon, so feel free to leave some more suggestions of films that you think look awful in the comments below, and let's get into it. 5 upcoming films that will probably most definitely be awful. For my first pick, I've got one of the few films on this list that I might actually check out, Keeping Up with the Joneses. This is one of the many action comedies to come out in 2016 because, as I mentioned in my Central Intelligence review, these films don't even have to be remotely good to make a bucket load of cash. So what is Keeping Up with the Joneses? Well, it looks like kind of a mix between Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Date Night, which made over $100 million by the way, and has some hot stars in it like the perfect couple of Gal Gadot and Jon Hamm, as well as Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher, who I guess we're supposed to pretend is unattractive in here. My biggest concern with this is what happens with most action comedies, in that they fail to deliver on either the action or the comedy, a lot of the time both failing. I mean, there are some exceptions out there, but unless you're a great director like Edgar Wright, Matthew Vaughn or Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I don't really have much faith in you to deliver a decent action comedy. Next up, we've got BenHur, a remake of a classic that even if you haven't watched, you've probably seen like 90% of it, because it's one of those films your grandparents would always be watching, and you'd go out for the whole day, come back like 5 hours later, and it would somehow still be on. A lot of people are annoyed at this film just purely because it's a remake, but I'm not really annoyed because of that. I mean, just look at the amazing effects we can now do in 2016.
Are we having fun now, brother?
But seriously, even if it wasn't a remake, I still wouldn't watch it. The trailer looks so bland, and how many of these historic sandal-wearing Coliseum films do we actually need? Because they seem to sneak out every year or so, and they're just not very good, ever. They all want to be the next Gladiator, but nobody ever cares about them. So whether they're loosely based on some actual historical event, feature giant monsters, or take place in space, they're so rarely actually memorable that I just can't see this film being anything but awful. However, I can get behind Dreadlock Morgan Freeman. Now, it wouldn't be a list of awful upcoming films without at least one horror movie in there, and there are 2 types of horror movies that are pretty much always destined to be bad: horror movie sequels, and even worse, horror movie prequels, especially when it's a prequel to Ouija. Ouija wasn't a super well received horror movie back in 2014, but for some reason they're making another one. I wonder why. So now we got Ouija Origins of Evil, and it looks super scary.
Did you see her writing this?
No.
Because it's Polish.
Oh no, not Polish. I don't want to talk about how money is the only thing that matters in Hollywood, because that's a video for another day, but apart from a few jump scares, there doesn't seem to be really anything interesting going on here, and that's normally the problem with bad horror movies, that the importance of getting a few jump scares in there comes before any kind of storytelling or character logic. I will say this is a horror prequel that probably has a good chance of being better than the original, just because it's going to be so hard to be worse than that. You're going to know where I'm going with this one straight away, but I just want to start off by saying I love Kevin Smith. I've probably listened to hundreds of his podcasts and spent countless hours watching his films, with Clerks, Mallrats and Chasing Amy all being favourites of mine. And I'm even one of like the 10 people on the planet that actually likes Jersey Girl. But I can't say his latest film, Yoga Hosers, looks anything but awful.
This isn't the real world.
This is Canada.
I know you find that over-the-top Canadian accent funny, Kevin.
Sorry.
But it's just too much in this trailer. I was tired of it by the end of it, and I can't handle this for a full film. Maybe like if it was a 10-minute short, I'd be able to give it a chance. But the B-movie set design and poor effects just make this look like a film I would probably never watch. And as much as I appreciate Kevin Smith going out there showing that anybody can make any movie they want, maybe this is a reason why people shouldn't get to make any movie they want. Especially when you throw in a line like this.
I'm not even supposed to be here today!
Which just makes me feel like you've ripped my heart out and stamped on it like it was a weird little sausage Nazi thing. So I know what you're thinking at this point. How can you top that? How can there be any films out there worse than all of the films on this list? But there is one. Every time I go to the cinema, I see the trailers for it, and I can't stand the trailers anymore. It might be out by the time you're watching this, but it's the whole reason I made this video in the first place, and I can't leave it off this list. The most awful looking upcoming film is 9 Lives. This is a comedy where Kevin Spacey is put into the body of a cat called Mr. Fuzzy Pants.
Wait a minute. I'm a cat!
Seriously, he gets put in there because he works too hard and doesn't care about his family, so by the end he'll probably care about his family, get put back in his normal body, and how many films do we need that have this exact same story? I just don't know how this film is coming out in 2016. The human swapping bodies with animals or swapping bodies with each other has been done so many times, and I've watched so many bad films where this is the main thing that happens in it. And Kevin Spacey, what are you doing, man? You should be better than this. This film should be starring Kevin James or Rob Schneider. In fact, come to think of it, I'm done talking about this film because I'm pretty sure this is just a prank being played by Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Tom Brand excelled at business, but failed at what mattered most.
Rob Schneider is a Wall Street executive with everything going for him.
Now, a mysterious man
See your face all the time.
is about to change everything.
Only problem is, he's about to become a carrot.
Wait a minute. I'm a carrot.
Rob Schneider is a carrot. Rated PG-13.
For the love of
So as I said at the start, please leave any of your suggestions down in the comments and let me know if you disagree with me, think any of these films are actually going to be good, because I'm pretty sure they won't be. As always, thank you for watching and subscribe for more.
Wait a minute. I'm a carrot.